They called it the shift. Nobody knew how or why it happened, whether it was evolution, radiation, or something drifting down from the stars, but one morning the world woke up different. At first, it was a whisper. I opened my eyes and heard not just the hum of the city outside but the scattered fragments of thought from the people in the apartments around me. Half dreams, memories, stray worries. For a moment I thought I was still asleep. But then I heard my neighbor, Mrs. Klein, thinking about how much she hated her son-in-law, even though the night before she'd smiled and kissed him on the cheek. Within hours, it became clear. Everyone could hear everyone else's thoughts. Not words spoken aloud, not voices exactly, but clear as a conversation playing in your own head. The world unraveled fast. Couples discovered betrayals that had been carefully hidden. Business partners heard each other's schemes before contracts were even signed. Politicians couldn't lie anymore, which only made people realize just how often they'd been doing it. There were riots in some cities, silence in others. Within a week, most governments had collapsed under the weight of honesty. At first I thought this new world might be better. No more secrets, no more lies. But the truth was worse. Every human is a storm of thoughts, some fleeting, some ugly, some too heavy to share. And now all of them were naked. There was no privacy, not even inside your own head. Suicide rates skyrocketed. Wars ended not from peace, but from paralysis. Soldiers couldn't fight once they heard the fear in their enemy's mind, the pleading, the families waiting at home. I learned to build walls in my thoughts. Not real ones, but patterns, rhythms, songs on repeat, multiplication tables, anything to drown out what I didn't want to hear, and to block what I didn't want others to find. It worked for a while. But then came them. The silent ones. At first, they were just rumors. People who moved through crowds without a single thought bleeding into the air. No voice, no whisper, nothing. They couldn't be read, and that made them terrifying. Because if everyone could hear everyone, then anyone who was silent had an advantage no one else had. I met one on a train. The carriage was packed with people drowning in each other's noise. And then, quiet. A bubble of silence where one man sat, staring out the window. The moment my mind touched his, I felt it, like falling into a void. He turned his head, met my eyes, and smiled. "You hear me," he said, not in my mind, but aloud, with his lips. His was the only voice I had truly heard in months. I couldn't answer. My thoughts were spiraling, too loud, and I knew he could read every one of them while giving nothing back. He leaned closer, whispered, "It's not a gift. It's a cage. We're the ones who found the key." Then the train stopped, and he was gone. After that, I searched for them. More silent ones appeared, always calm, always unreadable. People feared them, whispered that they had caused the shift, that they were planning something. I didn't know if any of it was true, until the night I followed one through the ruins of the old city library. Beneath the broken shelves was a stairwell, leading to a room lit by flickering lamps. Dozens of silent ones stood there, and when they saw me, they didn't push me away. Instead, one stepped forward and placed a hand on my forehead. The noise vanished. For the first time since the shift, my mind was my own. No voices, no thoughts pressing in, no one listening. Just silence, pure and infinite. I almost wept. "You see now," the leader said softly. "This is what the world was before. A prison of noise disguised as connection. The shift wasn't evolution. It was intrusion." They opened the door. "Who?" I asked, though my voice trembled. He raised his eyes upward, toward the dark ceiling. "Listen closely. It isn't just human thoughts you hear anymore. Not all the voices are ours." And then I noticed it, threads in the noise I had mistaken for background. Thoughts that weren't human at all, vast and cold, drifting like tides through every mind on earth. They had been there all along, hidden in the storm of our own chaos. Watching. Feeding. The oceans had dried. Gravity had failed. The rings in the sky had pulsed. All those strange events humanity had survived, it had never been coincidence. The voices weren't a gift. They were the sound of something opening us, like shells, to see what lived inside. I left the library that night with silence in my skull, and one unbearable truth. We hadn't gained the ability to read each other's minds. Something else had gained the ability to read ours.